Hi, welcome back to my garden. I'm here in the hummingbird garden, and although it's been looking pretty kind of drab all winter, things are slowly starting to come to life. There's like fritillaries, crocuses, dwarf irises, snowdrops, like all those things are like blooming. Plus I see like lupins and other irises and stuff all kind of poking their head up too. So very shortly, this place is going to be full of color, and I can't wait. And then behind me, I have this Camellia. This is part of a 2-year project to prune it down. So I did some research to see the best way to prune it. Basically, it was all the way up to the roof, and there was evidence that critters were using it to climb up, which we didn't really like. So that was part of the reason to cut it back. And then the other reason is the glass block kind of window behind it is our bathroom, and predictably that's also full of plants, so I wanted more light to go in there. So yeah, basically these are really tough plants and you can cut them back hard, was kind of like the summary of what I read. There is always like risk to cutting it, so rather than kind of do everything at once, I thought that if I split it over 2 years, it might be a little easier on the plant. So last year I came in and cut it to about, I want to say like this height. I can see some of the old wood. So about here. So, and the middle was completely like just bare, like it was just sticks, but I could see some buds. So whenever I saw a bud, I cut above it so that that would be able to grow. But evidently it's able to regenerate from like dormant buds, old buds that are not visible. Basically what looks like stick is capable of putting out new shoots. So that was cool to learn. So for today, the plan is to shape it. Now that it's like filled in, I want to basically shear the top down so that it's level. And then I thought it would be cool to make it look like a box. So we'll see how that goes. But something that's important to know is that this one hasn't bloomed yet. I can actually see some of the buds down here. Last year's new growth doesn't have any flower buds. I think it's like the year after that they get them. So I'm not worried about cutting the top because I won't cut any flowers out. And most of the flowers actually seem to be further in because that's where the older wood was. So I think that if I cut the front, they'll still be there. Ultimately, I don't have this plant for the flowers. It's really for the foliage. Like this time of year to get these like glossy shades of different greens is like amazing. So while I'm shaping it, I feel like that's more important anyway. And then once I get the desired shape, then I can start just giving it an annual prune in April after the blooms have faded and just kind of shaping it up every year. Okay, so that's what I'm working with. So the only rule other than potentially avoiding the flowers is to cut above a bud. So if I take this one, for example, if I were to cut below this top bud, then I would always have this like sticky bit. And although these will eventually overtake it, I feel like it always just looks a little ugly. So if I cut a little bit closer, then that bud's good to go. It will get kind of maximum light and then it can just shoot off and there won't be like an old snag. In this case, I'm actually going to cut it a little further down. So I could cut it all the way down into the old wood, but I think I'm going to try to make it level with the edge of the veranda here. So kind of go around there. So I'm just going to start cutting and then we'll see how it goes. Okay, so it ended up being pretty cube-like. I started off kind of being more careful and then I became less careful as I went along, partially because there were just like so many buds, even like dormant buds that I could see, that I was kind of like, okay, pretty much no matter what I do, I think it's gonna fill back in. And like based on how well it filled in from the really harsh cutback, like, yeah, I think it'll do well. So I tried to do it kind of a cube shape. It's not perfect, but there's a few spots that I kind of want to fill in, and especially near the bottom, I was like a little bit more careful about not cutting too deep because I think it gets less light than the top. So I didn't want it to become like kind of mushroom shaped. Anyway, so that's it for now. I'm gonna leave it alone, and there are some buds still in here that have potentially just have like more light now too, so maybe they'll even bloom a little sooner. And then after they bloom, the new shoots will come out and then I can trim it back once more. But We'll see how that goes eventually, but for now I'm pretty pleased with how it looks, and I know that there'll be a lot more light for the bathroom too. So yeah, so that's the pruning of the camellia. Thanks for coming along, and I'll catch you next time.